Hi, I'm Patrick Jaguar with Cosmic Alchemist Astrology, and welcome. So thanks for tuning into this video. And in this one, I want to keep it short. It's actually about yesterday's new moon. I'm making this on October 21st, Thursday. Full moon was yesterday, Wednesday, October the 20th. It was a tough one. It was a bit of an ass kicker, and I attempted to make some videos about this before the full moon, because really a full moon is a 3-day event. It's the day it happens and the 2 days leading up to it are when the energy really builds. So yeah, it wasn't happening. I wasn't in the right frame of mind. I really had some shit coming out of me. So it's the day after, and it's a big improvement. So just going to take a few minutes to talk about this. Won't be my usual long-winded self. So thank you to everybody who watches this channel, likes, subscribes to the videos, comments, shares. All that stuff helps the channel do better. I really appreciate it. Commenting is really as important as the likes, because the commenting helps the video bump up in the search algorithm. So yeah, it can just be a thumbs up, a smiley face, a thank you. I appreciate everybody who's doing it. Gives me a lot of encouragement. I haven't been doing this very long, so, and it's a steep learning curve, just making video, trying to get it all out there. So thanks a lot. If you haven't done this stuff, like, subscribe, share, comment. I ask that you do. It's a big help. So anyway, let's get into the point at hand here. So, full moon in Aries. Again, full moon is about, I consider it to be sort of a birthing kind of an energy. People will often tell you that full moons are all about manifestation. That is true, but no living thing, including like a thought or a project, nothing that has some sort of a life of its own, is conceived and born at the same time. So for something to be born, it has to be conceived beforehand, and it has to gestate. And this is what the moon cycles are really all about. So the new moon is conception. The new moon's a dark moon. It's dark. Like a womb, for example, is very dark. There's no light in there. So it's a dark place where animals, creatures of the animal kingdom get their beginning. They get their beginning in a womb at conception, and they gestate in the darkness. And then at birth, they come out into the light. They take the first breath. So the new moon is at conception period, and this happens in the dark, in the blackness. And you've heard me talk about this before, but this is why Egypt was called Kemet. It was the black land. It wasn't about black people. It was an occult, symbolic principle. It paid tribute to the yin energy, the feminine energy that gives birth to things in the 3D manifested world. So yeah, with the yin energy, you get this, things have their birth. So, and then, things have their conception. They have their first beginning. And then with the full moon, which is yang, where the new moon is yin, the full moon is where things come into the light for the first time. So it's like, if you want to get a project going or some idea, you want to give it some momentum, you want to think about it during the new moon. You want to write it down. You want to get it specific in your mind, what it is that you want to do. And then the full moon, it'll be born. You'll kind of breathe life into it. And so, a full moon is relatively, it's a yang phenomenon. It's not as yang as the sun, but it's pretty yang. full moon's a really solar phenomenon because it's when the moon is reflecting the full light of the sun without being in any shadow. So it's just like when we're born. We see light for the first time, it kind of blinds us. Very similar. So that's what full moons are all about. Kind of a time of birthing, when things come into the world. Now, full moon in Aries, this is at an interesting time. It's at the end of October. And here in the northern hemisphere, especially in a temperate zone, this time of the year is associated with harvest. It's really the end of the year. In the old European New Year, the Celtic, Germanic traditions, and other ones around the world too. Really, New Year's Eve, when you follow the agricultural cycle, New Year's Eve is October 31st. Halloween, All Hallows Eve, aka Samhain, and then November 1st is the New Year's Day. This is all agriculturally based. So here in the northern hemisphere, in a temperate zone, we're in harvest. We're towards the very end of harvest. But then we have this full moon in Aries. So during the harvest time, you get a new moon in Pisces, and Pisces is the final sign of the zodiac, the 12th sign. Then you get a full moon, so you go from new moon in Pisces to full moon in Aries. So Aries is the first sign. Aries is about beginnings. So it's interesting that at the end of this agricultural year of the northern hemisphere, right around Samhain, Halloween, all that stuff, we get this full moon in Aries about beginnings. So every ending is about a beginning. When something ends, you start conceiving what will come next. You finish a job, you get out of a relationship, you find out you're going to relocate. It's the end of something, but it's also a beginning. So right at the end of this agricultural new year, we have this full moon in Aries. And really, it's like this full moon in Aries is about the new cycle being born as this cycle in nature ends. And that's an interesting thing with the moon cycles too, is you're basically, full moons and new moons are always happening in like kind of opposite signs. Not opposite, but they're sort of on different corresponding ends of the zodiac. So yeah, endings are always beginnings. And this full moon has a lot to do with that. So let's look at Aries. Let's talk about the whole world here. Aries deals with beginnings. It deals with initiative. It deals with leadership. It deals with just kind of like kickstarting things. It also deals with the head. So it's like what goes on inside your head. And you can get into like perception, how you perceive the world, how you perceive yourself, your life. Aries is also the self. So, just looking at a full moon in Aries for the world, this is about getting the full picture of ourselves, having to look at ourselves, without any distraction, without any denial, without anything getting in the way and stopping us from doing that. And this is why on full moons, people get a little crazy, people get uneasy, people get anxious, people aren't quite in their right minds. You talk to first responders, police, emergency room physicians and nurses, they'll all tell you that accidents and domestic violence, they're all significantly higher during the full moons. It's not just some weirdo new age thing. These people who serve these important roles will tell you. So the longer they've been doing it, the more they'll tell you. So yeah, full moons just make us look at our whole emotional self, our consciousness, without anything getting in the way. And and it's like something that we have to deal with. Now the moon, as I often mention, the moon is it's the mind. So the mind is not the intellect. The intellect is just a small island in the sea of the mind. The mind is our whole emotional consciousness. So it's all of our emotions, memories, has a lot to do with our personality. So on a full moon, we're basically, the universe says, okay, you gotta fully deal with your shit at least 12 times of the year. And those are all the full moons. So this time, full moon in Aries, we have to deal with what's with ourselves and kind of like our self-image, the way we see ourselves, the way we see ourselves fitting into the world. And also what's inside of our heads. And so that's what it deals with the world. And, you know, with the world right now, since Aries deals with leadership, everybody has leadership on the brain right now, and you know what the leaders are doing, and especially with this whole Kung Flu phenomenon, what the leaders are trying to get us to do, basically, and that's really the crux of it. You know, leaders trying to get us to cover our faces for the rest of our lives and get a new shot every 6 months. That the drug pushers, the drug dealers, the drug companies who fund public health and tell public health what to do and fund all the politicians' election campaigns, our leaders are trying to get us to, you know, take a new shot every 6 months that they're cranking out, which is totally experimental, very highly untested. There's a lot of bait and switches here, and people are being bribed with beers and donuts and milkshakes and French fries and hamburgers and lap dances and lotteries and scholarships. Highly dubious, highly suspect. You know, it's like they're humping our legs to get us to do this. Nobody does this from a position of strength when they're being totally transparent, even though transparency is a big progressive buzzword of the day. So everybody has their eyes on leadership right now. So the whole world's doing that. Now, as an American, I like to basically overlay these the chart of the day over the chart of America, because it's specific to me in my life. So yeah, let's look at that placement. So America is a Sagittarius ascendant. So this full moon in Aries is in the 5th house for America. So 5th house deals with, well, first off, 5th house is the original home of Leo, the sign of the sun. So it deals with royals, rulers, executive figures. Also deals with fun, with fulfillment, with performance, creativity, with art. Deals with politics, because politics is performance art. It's nothing more than Hollywood movie magic. Just because you watch the news, you don't know the politicians. If you haven't worked with somebody, been somebody's neighbor, gone to school with somebody, vacationed with people, you don't know them. So it's Hollywood movie magic. Leo has everything to do with just getting our heart's desires, achieving our heart's desires, and enjoying life. So for America, I really see this Aries new moons, Aries full moons, well, and new moons. Aries in the 5th house, whatever's in there, it has to do with the pursuit of happiness, and that's one of the cornerstones of America. It was one of the rights of humanity, the God-given rights of humanity laid out in the Declaration of Independence. So this has a lot to do with our pursuit of happiness and how leaders may be infringing upon it. They may be trying to help us pursue it and hang on to it, or they may just be, you know, completely undercutting us and doing what their corporate masters want them to do. And you know, that's the thing here with America too, is representative government, Republican government, which is degraded into democracy. It's very cumbersome, it's very tedious, and it's very expensive. And so, you know, the corporate masters of the politicians, they allow for this illusion of choice, an illusion of representative government. And really what they want to do is they just want to get rid of it, and they want to rule more directly. Politics, like religion, it's an opioid of the masses. It makes people think they're important. It makes people think they're being heard. But they want to rule more directly, so they're trying to condition us to just do whatever the hell we're told. So they're like, oh, yeah, excuse me. So they're like, yeah, you don't just have to wear a mask. You got to wear 2. You got to wear 3. Don't go to anybody's house. Just stay yourself indoors. Be afraid. Don't go to anybody's house who hasn't had one of our shots that we're making billions and trillions of dollars off of. They're trying to make us do more and more in order to just condition us to doing what we're told. They want us to be medieval Catholic peasants all over again. And it's pretty insane. It's a gradual frog boil. So this new moon is bringing all that to light for a lot of people. But, not everybody feels the same way. For some people, the pursuit of happiness is putting masks on their children and locking themselves up in their houses and staring at the TV news and being afraid and just hanging on every word that the news says. And some people who oppose shots and masks and all that, they do the same thing. They hang on every word that the news says, and it's like they're addicted to getting the latest story and the latest little bit of data. It really fucks up your pursuit of happiness when you live like that. And then some people, and that leads me to another point. Some people, they've grown up in circumstances, and I can relate to this. They've grown up in circumstances where there is no genuine pursuit of happiness. They grow up just feeling like you should just be happy to work and hoard money in the bank, and just be grateful for that, and don't do anything beyond that. Don't do anything fun or unexpected or spontaneous. So this full moon could also be about giving birth to some sort of pursuit of happiness in your life. So and this is definitely, we're in these times where I'm always saying, stand up for what you believe in and don't let anybody shame you or bully you out of doing that. Whatever that is. I'm not going to tell you what to believe, but I'll also share with you what I believe. I'm all about freedom. I'm not about kissing ass to Ivy League lawyers who become politicians and think they know what's best for other people and think they have a right to boss other people around. So, yeah. On that note, another thing about this full moon is Aries has the 8th aspect of Mars on it. The 20th, and today too. Mars is a slow mover, but Mars is moving into Libra. But that'll bring some anger to this house, because Mars is anger, vitality, volatility. And a lot of people are angry about their ability to pursue their happiness being hindered. And, so another thing with this is, one last little detail is, actually 2 more things. One thing, we have, as I've been talking about, we've got Pluto and Saturn in Capricorn. So, this makes government very over-controlling, very control-freakish, very restrictive. And when you put Pluto in there, it brings in an element of sneakiness. And the sneakiness is all about exposing the truth, exposing the deep, dark, underlying truth that nobody wanted to deal with. So Pluto brings about this sneakiness, and basically people eventually get caught, because when people start getting away with things, they get arrogant and they slip up and they show their hand. So, that brings personality and characteristics to this whole situation. But it's interesting too. Jupiter's at 28 degrees of Capricorn, same house as Pluto and Saturn, but kind of far away. But it's about to go back into Aquarius, so we're definitely on the verge of getting some new truth bombs here that'll, really, I think, alter people's views of everything that's been going on for the past couple of years. And the other thing too is this, we've got this yod that I've been talking about. It's loosening up, but it's still there, and that yod is being cast out of Virgo by Mars and Mercury onto Aquarius, America's third house, that's got a Neptune retrograde, and onto Aries, America's fifth, which has that Uranus retrograde and that moon. So, yods, it's a term from Western astrology. It's the Hebrew letter yod, means finger of God. It upsets things. It's like an earth shaker. And yod is when planets in a sign look 6 houses away and 8 houses away. So, again, Virgo, where Mars and Mercury are, it's the medical science establishment, public health, the healthcare industrial complex. It's government for America. And so it's looking at Aquarius, humanity, we the people, with Neptune retrograde. Neptune is illusions. When it's retrograde, it more exposes illusions and lies and deceptions. And in the third house is media. So, this whole, government, the medical industrial complex, the drug pushers, they're definitely using media in a deceptive way. And they're getting caught doing this more and more every day. And then 8 houses away, Mars and Mercury and Virgo are looking at Aries with that Uranus retrograde. So it's basically government is, and since it's Aries, it's talking about government's leadership style, and it's like political style. So it's basically rattling people's brains, with scary information and with scary scenarios, worst case scenarios, because Uranus is the earth shaker. So they're basically leading by scaring the shit out of people and rocking people's worlds and rocking their brains. So yeah, you really have to, in times like this, you have to commit to what you believe in and what you want to do, and not budge. So I'm going to leave it at that. How are we doing? 23, not bad. So yeah, thanks for tuning in. If you have not had a Vedic astrology reading with me, I highly recommend that. It's a great way to get another look at yourself, to really gain some confidence in some things that you intuitively knew about yourself but weren't sure of. And it helps you to see hidden talents, hidden gifts, hidden opportunities and potential pitfalls, in your life, in the current events and beyond. I do rune readings. I also have a couple videos on sale for download. Qigong videos. Qigong is a great mind-body practice to optimize physical, emotional, mental, and spiritual health. So thanks for tuning in, and be talking to you soon. Have a good one.